Well, was I under anticipating what I was going to find? This one really came out of nowhere. Look what we have here. Today I'm coming to you from Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, and right behind me is a section of the D&L Rail Trail. We're going to ride it today to see what the trail's like and to see if we can find any interesting things that may be hiding in plain sight. And for my mode of transportation, I'm going to be riding a brand new e-bike, which we'll talk more about later on in the video. But if you're ready, I'm ready to ride, so come along with me. Here we begin our journey. Now this section of the trail goes all the way to Mountaintop, which is on the outskirts of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I don't think we'll be going that far today, but we're going to go a good distance, definitely several miles, and we'll see what's hiding in plain sight, because along a lot of these trails there's signs from the past. Old railroad ruins, foundations, maybe even some just natural things made by nature. And already we're going through a rock cut area. Now up on the left, on the embankment here, is Reading Northern Railroad. The same line I rode in on the inaugural Pittston to Jim Thorpe train ride. Pulled over at the first location. Do you hear that sound? That's the sound of water. And we have right here a stone culvert. Actually some logs going across here. That's a nice little stone one. Goes directly underneath the railroad tracks, and I believe I know what's on the other side, because I explored the other side of it in a previous video. So up in the corner, that video that pops up, and also the one linked down below, will show you what's on the other side if you watch that video in its entirety. This is one of probably a few culverts that goes underneath the active rail line. Old construction, just serving the purpose of water flow, and actually goes underneath here and expels over here. Yeah, there we are. This is a nice little area here, a lot of greenery. I think those are mountain laurels, if I'm not mistaken. Exposed tree roots. So yeah, it's essentially a little bridge. Rail line went on top of it, now the rail trail, water flow, and then it makes its way down there and eventually heads into the Lehigh River. By the way, just a sneak peek, if you guys are fans of Transformers, the little toys or even the movies, this bike may be calling your name, because it's a Transformers inspired e-bike. Look at that symbol. Does that not look like Transformers? I've actually heard some people call this the Bumblebee e-bike, because it's the yellowish gold color like Bumblebee the Transformer. So just wanted to show that to you since it was standing out right here. But yeah, we'll talk about that, the details and specs and features, a little bit later on in the video. So if you are curious as to what this bike has to offer, we'll definitely cover that later in the video. But down the trail we go. And if you can't tell, this is a pretty shady, scenic, rather remote section of trail. Not extremely remote, at least not here, but remote enough that you're away from the city, the traffic. To the right is the river, to the left is the rail line. So it states Middleburg Road. There's a crossing here, Black Diamond access, 8.6 miles in this direction for biking, hiking, dogs, and cross-country skiing. No cars, ATVs, horses, or snowmobiles. This is primarily a crushed stone trail, except for up here where it does go to a paved portion for the crossing. This is Middleburg Road. Cross over. Then we cross over the train tracks, Reading and Northern. So here we get into the heart of the trail. So the part we started on, although it's considered a DNL trail, this is the true DNL trail. This, you can see, is a clear rail bed here. This section here is pretty nice. You can actually see there is multiple lines here. On the right was a rail bed, and on the left as well. So looks like at least 2 lines came through here. Now, given the length of this trail for how far it goes, I would definitely recommend doing it on bike. Whether it be a traditional bike or an e-bike, it'd be a long walk. Unless you want to walk it in sections, that's a different story, but to cover the most ground, get the most of your time, a bike is highly recommended. And I think we have another crossing up here as well. It's like a driveway to someone's residence. But we're gonna continue right past it. I wanted to stop for a moment and just let you take in the sights and sounds without the noise of the bike or me or anything else. So I'm going to give you a few moments of silence here. Now, back to what I was going to mention, is that off to the right here, nothing exciting, but worth mentioning since we are on the old rail line, is there is some old ties lingering. This one here is jutting out of the ground. Another one there. More of them on the embankment here. So it's hard to tell because so much time has transpired from when this rail line was active, but I'm pretty certain a rail line was here and maybe another one over there. I think probably at least 2. Oh, we got some other bikers coming. But we'll see if we can find anything more prominent or significant along the way. If I come across any beautiful areas like creeks, streams, or...
You're cheating yourself out of power.
He's coaching her. Yeah, anything natural or man-made that's worthwhile to stop and check out, I'll be sure to show it to you. One of my favorite things on these trails, and this one has an abundance of them, is these nice long straightaways where all you see is just the trail, the greenery, the canopy of the trees. These long stretches are some of my favorite. Not only for doing what we're doing, riding an e-bike on them, but even on active rail lines when there's nice long straightaways. Those and some really sharp curves are my favorite parts of rail lines or rail beds. Alright, up ahead is something that I remember seeing when I rode the Pittston train to Jim Thorpe. We actually rode underneath it. And that is a bridge. Former rail bridge, now a crossing for the trail. But I'm going to stop here and show you what the views are like. Now, as you can tell, this is obviously not the original bridge. This is a newly added bridge to this line. New construction. But you still get the sense as to where the train did cross. And it's going to be hard to see with this fencing here. But there is the rail line. That's the Reading Northern. I rode on those tracks from Pittston to Jim Thorpe, which means if you come here on any weekend that it's running, you could catch the train approaching towards Whitehaven, or in the evening heading back towards Pittston. It's a little more difficult here with the small fence holes, but with your own eyes you get a good sense of it. As I mentioned, it's a pretty remote area. You know, like, we're close enough that you're not going to be terribly far from help, but you're definitely far enough away that you're kind of on your own. And that's where it does be mindful for these longer, more remote rail trails to bring some necessary supplies. Food, water, even multi-tool bike pump, which I do have with me. But yeah, now we saw it from above and below. I have to point out too that this trail is not as manicured as some other trails, and that's not a bad thing. This really gives you a sense of how it would be when the line became abandoned and nature started reclaiming. So there are some higher grasses. It is a crushed, packed down material, combination of dirt and stone. Very easy to navigate, but with higher grasses, you could have things that could latch onto you, such as ticks and stuff, so I'll be checking for that. But where we started, it was a crushed stone. We crossed over that crossing, and it turned into this, and it looks like the farther we're going back, the more rural and natural it's beginning to look. Still a rail bed, but a partially reclaimed rail bed. That's why I enjoy showing these rail trails, because they're all different. Some have completely paved roads to ride on. Some are a combination of different materials. Some are strictly crushed stone. This one is mostly dirt and grass. And on the flip side, some have many things to see along the way, whether it's placards, ruins from the past. Some are just naturally beautiful, like this. Mile 134 right there in the milepost. Well, was I under-anticipating what I was going to find? This one really came out of nowhere. Look what we have here. An old telephone communications booth. It's also a picnic area. And this one is partially restored. It is intact, has been painted, and there's even a little information thing here, so I'm going to just briefly go over it. You're welcome to pause it if you want to read it for yourself. But it basically says, early 1900s, Lehigh Valley Railroad expanded many lines to 4 tracks and built signal towers at strategic points. The first phones were placed in concrete phone booths. In the 1950s, block phones were replaced by steel phone boxes, and there's a bug crawling on it. This is really neat. I don't know if this was the original location or not, but regardless, it is here, and you're able to check it out. Oh, it's a mosquito den. There's hundreds of mosquitoes in here. I don't know if they're showing up, but yeah. Well, I don't want to camp out in here. You'll get eaten alive. You can almost see the outline where something was mounted. Probably the phone itself, or the shelf or something with the block phone. There's a hole on top. Now, I have come across these at numerous times. There's one laying down near the Lehigh Canal. The one lock outside of Jim Thorpe, which I did a video on. There's also 2 of these on the line between Pittston and Jim Thorpe. One is in better condition than the other. It's right along the Lehigh River. But yeah, I'm glad they have this here. It even looks like a little trail of sorts, which could just be a hiking trail. And over here is piles of railroad ties. There's a pile here and a pile there. And you can tell they've been there for a long time because they are covered in nature's carpet and there's trees growing around them. So we have something significant, and unfortunately people are writing on it. And looks like a brand new picnic table. Really nice little spot here. If I return, I'll be bringing a significant lunch, substantial lunch, and enjoying it right here near the concrete phone booth. It's like a giant swamp over there. Dilapidated picnic table. The big beaver's hut out in the middle. That is posted down there though, so we can't go down there. But now, after seeing that little placard for that phone booth, it does make more sense. With given how wide this rail bed is, I was under the assumption of 2 lines, maybe 3, but it stated there was up to 4 lines, either at certain points or certain locations. So this was a busy thoroughfare of trains back in the day. Do you see what I see? Right there directly ahead of us. It's not a tree. It is a concrete post, which would signify either a milepost or a marker post. And directly behind that, that's the base of a telegraph pole. There's actually a conduit pipe right next to it that would have had the insulators on it. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a milepost or a marker post? I'm thinking mile. If we were closer to a crossing, I would say marker because it had the W on there for whistle. But that's the only one I've seen so far, and it's right here, that far away from the main trail. Well, if we see more, maybe we'll get an idea. I should say if we do see more, then we'll have a better idea that it's milepost and not for markers or signals or anything other than what mile it is. Now, one thing I want to share with you, and this is not something I normally do, but I feel the need to because it'll benefit you guys. Now, when I do these rail trails, obviously I don't share all the back history. You know, I tell you just briefly what it's about, where we are. More or less, I show you what the trail's like, what it has to offer, and what we can find hiding along the way. But there's a channel who are viewers of mine, and they go by the channel name of Sun+1. And they do a lot of trails and parks and things around Pennsylvania, but more importantly, they share the history of the locations. And they recently put out a video covering the history of the D&L. And it's pretty fascinating to learn because I never really dived that deep into it. From the, you know, the connection to the canals to the purposes of the line and where it traveled from and to. So I will link that particular video down below. And if you do happen to watch it, comment under their video and say JPVideos sent me or JPVideos recommended this video. I'm sure they'll appreciate it, and so will I. I don't know how I spotted this. Just passed right through here, glanced over through this little clearing, and noticed this sign. Now, this is someone's property down here, so I'm not going to go past this, but this is something from the railroad days. It's an old metal sign. Don't know what it said. If you guys have any ideas what you think it could have said, it could have maybe said switch, could have said crossing, could have been anything, but you know, size of my hand, it's about a little bit twice the length of my hand, 3/4 of the way, and it's made out of steel here, so it's right along the rail line. And now it's just a relic from the past. But based on the shape of it, if anyone recognizes what this would have said on it, chime in down below. Oh, here's something. I think we need to check that out. Okay, well, I guess I have to play by the rules. I just noticed there's purple paint here. There's a posted sign up there. That's unfortunate because this looks like a really neat little spot. And it's obvious people have been here. It's trampled down. Looks like people have had a fire down there, but it's a really neat rock outcrop overhang there. Some different little pockets and cavities. I always think they're pretty neat to look at. But we'll just have to observe it from here. But at the very least, I can snap a photo of it and share it with you at the end of the video in the photo montage. I just checked Google Maps and we're still in Whitehaven. I'm guessing the outskirts of it. But the thing I saw is where we're heading. On the right hand side there's going to be a body of water called Creasy Creek. And on the left hand side, a larger body of water called Moosehead Lake. If we're able to get any visuals of it, I'll definitely show them to you. I think this is the outskirts of Creasy Creek here. It's more or less like a swampy area. And there you can see there's water here, kind of dammed up, but flowing out of here I guess would be Creasy Creek. It's not really clear water either. It is pretty swampy. I do see tons of lily pads and a humongous beaver hut right in the middle there. But Google Maps shows this as Creasy Creek. It's a decent sized body of water too. I don't think that's a beaver hut. That's more like a beaver hotel. Sucker's big. So just up there behind the trees right in front of us is a telegraph pole. One of them is existing. It's up there on top of the rock wall there. And up here is our clearing. Oh, this one looks way better. Moosehead Lake. I think we certainly need to stop here and take in some views. Oh, there's a goose right there. Creasy Creek. Overturned rowboat. D&L Trail. Moosehead Lake. And you know what I'm noticing? If you look, wow, I wish trains were running on this today. This is a beautiful sweeping curve up and around the lake here. And you can actually see it's rising in elevation, so it's actually going uphill just a bit. But to see trains running on this back in the day, especially standing right here, what a sight that would be. Especially, well, there's actually some cool stuff here. Especially steam locomotives, because climbing the grade, they'd be throwing out plumes of smoke. It would be impressive to see and to hear. Those locomotives would be working overtime to climb this grade. But imagine the photo opportunities. Wow. So right here is a telegraph pole, the base of one. And there's one right there, still intact, and it's actually in the water. So I wonder if this water level does change over time, or if they were placed in the water intentionally, or maybe back in the day it was dry here and then the water levels rose. Regardless, it is neat to see though, but this is a fantastic viewing spot of the lake, of the trail, the tree line. Probably some good fishing too. I did scare off the goose. He is over there. But yeah, by far my favorite place along the trail. They should put a picnic table like right around here. And I'm actually going to take a little walk over here and see if we get a better visual of that telegraph pole that's still in the water. Yeah, it's kind of a unusual sight. I've never seen them in the water before. Still attached with the anchor cable. And the bottom is kind of notched out too. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below. What you think the reason why it's in the water. If you think water levels raise and lower over time, or was it intentionally placed there. I don't know. Something new for me to see for the first time. was trying to figure out what that said on there. It's upside down. It says, not yours, don't touch, but yours is URS.
Hooked on Phonics worked for me. Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
Learn to read.
I spoke too soon. They do have a bench here. And I see more telegraph poles. And there's a milepost. Yeah, this is quite the spot to take a break and to take in that spectacular view. Moosehead Lake, a little hidden gem here along the D&L Trail. I definitely spoke too soon. Here we have some picnic tables, and we're going to pull over here and take a little break. So just take this in as if you're sitting here with me. Plenty of room, so grab a seat and look at that view. On top of that, it's nice and shady here too. This is a picture perfect location. So since we're here, I'd like to take a couple moments to talk to you about my mode of transportation. So as I mentioned, this is my first time working with this company. The company is Cycrown. And this particular model is known as the Cycknight. But I'm calling it the Transformers inspired e-bike. And it has a few key features going for it, which I'm going to share with you. I do want to cover the specs at first, and then I'm going to give you an overview of the bike. Once we do depart here, I'm going to do a 0 to top speed, throttle only, so you can see what it's like with acceleration and how fast it actually goes. So let's go over the bike. Up here, starting with the handlebars, we do have a dedicated headlight and horn button. Your 3-button module here. M is mode, and also your power button up and down for your pedal assist. So you long press it to turn it on. It's a nice big display. It shows your current speed, battery indicator and percentage, pedal assist and odometer. Now if you do press mode, you can go through trip, voltage, current, and time the bike has been on. I only have 9 miles on it so far, and 4 or 5 of those is from today. But that is a nice big bright display. And just to give you a sense of the horn, I just scared something over there. It's a loud electric horn. Over here is your 7-speed Shimano shifting system, and your, let me turn it off because I just won't do it. It's your half twist throttle, so no thumb lever. It is on the right hand side, half twist throttle. Front and rear mechanical disc brakes. I will say the brakes are really touchy. They grab really hard, which is good. Here is your headlight. It's one of the better headlights that they put on these bikes. It's a 4 LED design, and it's fairly bright compared to some of the other ones. Coming down, you do have the gold color. Charging port is right there for when you want to charge the battery inside the frame of the bike. It does have folding pedals, so they do fold and make it easy to transport. You do have a handle here for maneuvering it around. Also on the front is front fork suspension, which is adjustable. You're able to lock it out. As a rear shock here as well, and also the seat is spring as well, so it's almost like a triple suspension. Now, one of the best features before we continue on is the seat. I give this seat a 5 out of 5 rating. Probably the best seat I've ever had on an e-bike that came standard. It's not only oversized, but it's thick and cushy. I haven't felt any discomfort so far. I'd even compare it to my Cloud 9 seat that I have on some of my e-bikes. By far the best seat that a company has put on a bike standard. Coming around the back side here is the sprockets, the chain, and this is your 500 watt rear hub motor with a 750 watt peak output. Now, what is it capable of? Well, it could go up to 48 miles of range, and as I always say, it's dependent on condition, the pedal assist mode that you have, and the weight of the rider. So estimate it can get up to 48. Realistically, you're probably going to get closer to 30, but it all depends on the various factors that can alter the performance. Now, it does have a 48 volt battery system located right inside of here, And this bike is foldable and portable, so it does fold in half, both at the frame here, and the handlebars do fold down as well, which makes it for easy transportation. The bike was really easy to assemble. You basically just have to put the stem of the handlebars in the hole there, tighten it down, put the seat in, put the kickstand on, the front wheel, which has a quick release rod, and the pedals. Assembly took no more than 10 minutes. And so far, I am pretty impressed with it. By no means a perfect bike, but the one thing I can tell you so far is that it's a smooth ride based on the suspension and the seat. The battery has been holding up. We're still at 100%, although it has dipped down into the 90s when I was on throttle only. I also want to mention too that a key does come with it. It is required for turning the bike on and for removing the battery, but the key slot's right under there. You could lock and unlock the battery and twist to lock it with a pin coming out, which will allow the bike to power on. Without the key, you cannot operate the bike, so it's a nice little added security feature. So it doesn't have fenders, doesn't have a rack, doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's a simple, ready to go e-bike. And many people are looking for a smaller framed bike or a foldable bike. Well, this fits the bill. The seat alone, I'm blown away by. The seat is fantastic. And right there is 5 pedal assist, very simple. And plenty of room on the handlebars too, if you want to mount, like I'm mounting a camera mount, clamp, or a phone mount, external light, but the light itself is pretty good. It does have 4-inch wide fat tires, and that's pretty much it. This bike right now retails at under $1,000. I will list the link down below if you do want to get more information or to buy one for yourself, but this is a relatively affordable bike, more budget friendly than some of the other bikes I've reviewed. And I did state I was going to be reviewing bikes of different price points. So I do want to thank the people at Cycrown for reaching out to me and sending this bike to me to review and to share it with you, because it is e-bike season. We're here in June, and what we're doing today is what a lot of people are doing, riding bikes. I've come across a few e-bikes, a few manual bikes, but if you're already in the market for an e-bike and you weren't sure if this is the bike for you, hopefully the information I shared with you will help you figure that out and determine that for yourself. There's a lot of options out there, a lot of different prices, but I think what you're getting for this price point, it is going to be a reliable, comfortable ride. And as long as you handle it appropriately, it'll get you where you need to go without much of an issue. With that being said, I'm going to get some water, get a little snack, get back on the bike, and continue down the path. Actually, let's see where we are right now too. I know we're at Moosehead Lake. I want to see if this is still considered Whitehaven or not. So Moosehead Lake is still Whitehaven, and it says it's near the state game lands. Honestly, I don't think there's any other access to this lake other than this trail, so if you want to come here, D&L Trail is the way to do it. So right now we're going to do our top speed run. Now the one thing I forgot to mention is that the throttle output is based on the pedal assist mode. So if you're in pedal assist 1, you're only going to get the output of pedal assist 1. So to go top speed, you will need to bump it up to pedal assist 5 to get full speed out of the throttle. So I'm going to go throttle only, and we'll see how fast it goes. Alright, so if you saw, it topped out at 19.7, and that was a limiter that stopped it. It felt like it wanted to keep going. It is advertised to go 20. 19.7 is fast enough, close enough. But it got there not super fast. It was a nice gradual increase, so it's not going to throw you off the bike. But it does go fast enough to keep up with like city traffic and to get places a little bit faster than a traditional bike. turn around, we just passed something out. Oh, actually, two things. I think I know what this might be. What I initially saw is over here, and definitely a base. Concrete base, wood on top. Yep, and there is the conduit and electrical wires. 100% I know what this is. I don't need your help with this one. This is the foundation, base, or structural support of a signal bridge, which is different from a signal tower. So the bridge would essentially go up and over the rails down the other side. So it's almost like you would see on a highway when they have the highway signs and the framing goes up and over like a big rectangle type of shape. So here's the other side of it here. So this was a signal bridge at one time. And almost identical replica pipe is in there, which comes out this side and goes underground to the other side to form the connection. So a signal bridge took place here, probably multiple signals for multiple lines, and it's right here on this nice section of straightaway. Pulled off here just to take another little break. This stretch I just came through is pretty remote, and I can hear traffic off in that direction. We are we're about a mile or two away from the trailhead. But back there on mile 139, it was pretty remote, pretty desolate. So if you are to break down or have an injury, you're kind of on your own. So just be prepared for that. There is another picnic table here. Now the trail has transformed. It's no longer those individual little trails with the grass growing in. It's now one clear path and another straightaway. I think we're going to go around another sweeping left-hand curve, and not much further past that should be the trailhead. I've also been running the Relive app the entire time, except for about a half mile in I started it. So we're going to stop it once we do reach the destination, see what the total mileage is, tack on half a mile, and that'll let you know how far we covered and what the total distance will be round trip. So we now veered off of the D&L trail. It would have continued straight, which I'll show you that in a clip. And this is leading us to the trailhead parking lot, I believe. So just to show you, this is where we came down. That's the D&L line. And there's the post stating D&L trail. The line would continue straight. This is where the rail line would have continued. But the trail itself does not continue this way. This would keep going for a long distance, and as mentioned, they are planning on extending this. So this may be finished in the future, but right now it's untouched, it's overgrown, and I believe further up there is sections of rail up there which I may explore maybe closer to the winter. But the trail does veer off from the rail bed, and that will take you to the parking lot of the Black Diamond Trailhead parking lot in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania. All right, looks like we succeeded. We made it to the Black Diamond Trailhead of the D&L Trail. This is as far as you could go. The road out there is Woodlawn Ave, I believe. And here is some information depicting what you're going to be riding on, from rails to trails. A well-worn path. I will briefly glance over it, so you're welcome to pause the video if you want to read any particular sections. It's a 165-mile trail that follows dozens of miles of former rail beds. 26 miles runs through the Lehigh Gorge, which I did ride on. and it's part of the canal towpath as well. We are, let's see, there's Whitehaven. We're right around here, I believe. It's Ashley, Wilkes-Barre. Yeah, so we're just on the outskirts of here. Started down there, so decent distance, but it goes for quite a ways. According to the Relive app, which I did start a half mile into my journey, that says we covered 10.5 miles, which means we did 11 miles. So it's going to be 22 miles round trip from Whitehaven to this trailhead. What is that noise? Truck. A couple key points I want to mention is that if you're going to do the entire route like I did, just come prepared for anything. You know, bring food, bring water, bring a pump, bring your multi-tool, bring a first aid kit, which I didn't bring, but thankfully I'm okay. But there are some pretty desolate areas, and if you're by yourself, you know, you're going to need to be able to take care of any situation. Also, personal protection, which I do have. That's pretty much always a given. As far as the trail itself, probably one of the most scenic trails I've ever done so far. Not loaded with ruins, remains, historical things. It's more or less scenic, and I really enjoy that. It's like a breath of fresh air. I was expecting to find a lot of the things we normally find, aside from the telephone booth, which was my favorite, and the little culvert and the signal bridge foundations. Everything else was just beautiful scenery, including Moosehead Lake, by far my favorite spot. When I ever do decide to return to this trail for a ride, I'm packing a substantial lunch. Probably gonna hang out there for an hour or two on that picnic table where we sat down, because that was a beautiful spot. I'll bring the camera next time, get some photos, and just really enjoy myself. Whoa, hold it right there, Jay. You forgot to tell them something during your outro that you're doing right now. So when you're traveling from Whitehaven to Mountaintop, you are going on an incline. You are climbing an elevation and having to exert some energy to climb that elevation, where if you're going from Mountaintop to Whitehaven, you're going downhill, downgrade, not exerting nearly as much energy. So depending on which direction you're going is going to determine how much energy you're putting into your ride. So, all right, continue your outro. The bike itself did fantastic. It got me here in one piece, and as I mentioned, it's no bells and frills and thrills bike. It's a simple get on and go bike. Up to 20 miles an hour or close to is a good enough speed, and that's what most e-bikes do anyways. And it's just easy to ride. It's nothing else to say. It got me here. It's going to get me back. We still have 71% battery left, so we're doing good on battery power. I did notice though, on throttle only, it does eat the battery down much faster than if you are pedaling along, which is a given, but with the battery meter and the percentage, it's more visible. So as long as you're willing to put in some pedal work, you could go longer distances, and I'm going to be doing 22 miles today on this bike. thank you for coming along for another rail trail adventure and for hearing my little spiel on the Cycrown Cycknight Transformers inspired e-bike. Would love to hear your thoughts as always. I value your input, and as mentioned, I do have other rail trails in store this year, both historical ones and ones that are just kind of downright cool and neat. So those will be coming later on this year, including, if you want to see more in the meantime, check the rail trails playlist down below. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, for riding. Stay safe, safe riding, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.